The vast darkness of space held no secrets for the Galactic Confederation's deep-range scanners. Commander Vrel leaned forward, his four-fingered hand hovering over the holographic display that showed a distant solar system. Routine surveys were typically mundane affairs, but something about this particular system caught his attention. "Incoming data stream," announced the ship's communication officer, a tall, willowy being with translucent skin that shimmered under the bridge's soft lighting. "Third planet from the local star shows signs of technological activity." Vrel's eyes, set wide apart on his angular face, narrowed with mild interest. Most emerging species they encountered were primitive, barely capable of understanding their own planetary systems, let alone interstellar travel. This would be another standard containment protocol, another footnote in the Confederation's expansive records. The scanner began painting a picture of the planet. Blue oceans covered most of the surface, interrupted by massive land masses. Artificial structures dotted these continents, cities, transportation networks, vast industrial complexes. Standard indicators suggested a species in its early technological phase. Radio waves, satellite communications, primitive energy signatures, all typical markers of a civilization on the cusp of understanding its potential. Preliminary analysis, the science officer reported, indicates a species with rudimentary space exploration capabilities. Multiple satellites, limited planetary exploration, no evidence of deep space travel. Vrel nodded, his movements precise and calculated. The Confederation had protocols for such discoveries. Emerging species were to be monitored, contained, and guided, or controlled, if necessary. Humanity, as the ship's database labeled them, would be no different from the dozens of species they had encountered and managed over centuries. The holographic display zoomed in, showing more detailed images. Massive metal structures rose from the planet's surface, buildings that reached toward the sky, transportation networks that crisscrossed continents, complex communication grids that hummed with electronic life. Cities glowed with artificial light, a testament to the species' ability to manipulate their environment. "Interesting," Vrel muttered, more to himself than to his crew. Their technological development suggests a rapid progression, but potential is not capability. The communication officer pulled up additional data streams. Military installations, nuclear technologies, early-stage space exploration equipment, all promising, but ultimately insignificant in the grand scheme of galactic civilization. The Confederation had seen countless species with similar potential. Most were eventually brought into line, their ambitions carefully managed. A junior analyst spoke up, her voice hesitant. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from some of their research facilities. The patterns don't match typical developmental trajectories." Vrel dismissed the observation with a wave of his hand. Anomalies are common in developing species. Their understanding of fundamental scientific principles is still limited. Little did Commander Vrel know how wrong he would be. The ship continued its silent observation, recording every detail of the blue planet. Massive orbital arrays captured radio signals, analyzed communication patterns, mapped technological infrastructure. To the Confederation, humanity was just another emerging species, a potential resource, a civilization to be managed, controlled, and ultimately integrated into their vast galactic network. Earth continued its daily rhythms, unaware of the alien eyes watching from the darkness of space. Billions of humans went about their lives, working, dreaming, creating, fighting, completely oblivious to the fact that they had just been noticed by a civilization that had conquered hundreds of worlds. The report would be simple. Another emerging species, another potential addition to the Galactic Confederation, another world to be brought into line. They would learn soon enough how drastically wrong their assessment would be. As the survey ship completed its initial reconnaissance, Commander Vrel prepared his standard report. Containment protocols, observation guidelines, potential resource extraction recommendations. Just another day in the endless expansion of the Galactic Confederation. Humanity remained blissfully unaware that their first true test was about to begin. The diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Confederation descended through Earth's atmosphere with calculated precision. Its sleek, silver hull gleamed against the morning sky, a stark contrast to the bustling city below. Inside the craft, Ambassador Krell reviewed the standard communication protocols for emerging species. "Transmission prepared," announced the communications specialist, her voice crisp and emotionless. Multiple global communication channels locked and ready. Earth's leadership would receive a message that had been delivered to hundreds of developing civilizations before, a simple ultimatum, but clear path to integration. Submission was always the most efficient option. Screens flickered to life in government buildings across the planet. Military installations, presidential offices, scientific research centers, all simultaneously received the same transmission. The message was direct, leaving no room for misinterpretation. "Greetings, species of Earth," the transmission began, translated instantaneously into every human language. "The Galactic Confederation hereby establishes first contact. Your civilization has been identified as a developing species within our territorial expansion zone. You are required to comply with the following mandates." The list was comprehensive: resource allocation guidelines, technological restrictions, mandatory population registration, potential conscription into the Confederation's vast administrative and military structures. Each point was presented with the cold efficiency of a bureaucratic system that had managed hundreds of civilizations. In the United Nations headquarters, delegates exchanged bewildered glances. Military commanders studied the transmission with growing confusion and anger. Scientists analyzed every word, every technical detail of the alien communication. "They can't be serious," muttered a senior diplomat, his fingers tracing the holographic projection of the alien message. The global response was not what the Confederation expected. Instead of fear or immediate submission, human leaders began to coordinate. Military strategists convened emergency meetings. Scientific teams worked around the clock to analyze the alien technology embedded in the transmission. Government resources mobilized with unexpected speed and unity. Ambassador Krell watched the initial responses with mild amusement. Humans displayed the typical signs of a young species: confusion, initial resistance, a misguided sense of independence. The Confederation had seen this pattern countless times before. "Prepare the secondary communication," Krell instructed. "They will require a more direct explanation of their situation." But something was different this time. The human response began to puzzle the diplomatic team. Communication channels buzzed with activity. Global networks lit up with unprecedented coordination. Military preparedness increased at a rate that defied the Confederation's predictive models. "Sir," a junior analyst interrupted, "their response patterns are unusual." Krell waved away the concern. "Standard emerging species behavior. They will understand their place soon enough." Back on Earth, a different narrative was unfolding. Research facilities that had been working on theoretical technologies suddenly shifted into high gear. Military installations that seemed routine began implementing unexpected defensive strategies. Global communication networks shared information at a speed that surprised even the most optimistic human leaders. The alien transmission continued to loop on screens worldwide. But instead of fear, it generated a unified response that the Galactic Confederation had never anticipated. "We do not accept your terms," came the first official human response. Simple, direct, completely unexpected. Ambassador Krell reviewed the response, expecting the typical posturing of a young species. What he saw instead was something that made him pause. The human communication carried an undertone of something the Confederation rarely encountered: a genuine belief in their own capability. Days passed. The alien diplomatic vessel maintained its position in Earth's orbit, waiting for the expected capitulation. But capitulation never came. Instead, humanity began to prepare. Research facilities worked overtime. Military installations increased their readiness. A global effort unlike anything in human history began to take shape. The aliens watched, convinced that this was merely the initial stage of resistance, a stage they had seen and managed countless times before. They were wrong. Humanity was not preparing to negotiate. They were preparing to fight. And the Galactic Confederation had no idea what was coming. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, a facility that didn't officially exist came to life. Screens flickered, massive computer systems hummed with unprecedented activity, and teams of scientists and military personnel moved with calculated precision. The global response to the alien ultimatum had triggered something extraordinary. Decades of hidden research, classified projects, and theoretical technologies suddenly found their moment. General Robert Clark stood at the Central Command Center, watching as multiple research streams converged. Projects that had been isolated, compartmentalized, and kept secret from the world now interconnected with breathtaking speed. "Activate Project Horizon," he commanded, his voice steady. Around the world, similar scenes played out. In underground facilities across continents, in research centers hidden from public view, humanity's most advanced technological developments began to emerge. These were not the primitive technologies the Galactic Confederation had observed during their initial survey. Advanced quantum computing systems came online. Experimental energy weapons that had been theoretical now showed real-world potential. Propulsion technologies that defied current scientific understanding began rapid prototyping. Stealth systems that could render entire fleets invisible were no longer just blueprints. In a laboratory in Japan, a team of physicists completed a breakthrough in energy manipulation that would have taken most civilizations centuries to develop. Their work, previously constrained by funding and bureaucratic limitations, now received unlimited resources and complete governmental support. A research center in Brazil activated a neural networking system that could process information faster than any known computer in human history. The system was designed to coordinate complex military and scientific operations with unprecedented efficiency. The global scientific community, which had often worked in competition, now collaborated with a unity that surprised even its own members. Barriers of language, nationality, and institutional rivalry disappeared overnight. Military strategists worked alongside theoretical physicists. Engineers collaborated with computer scientists. Every resource, every brain, every piece of technology was now focused on a single objective: preparation. The alien diplomatic vessel continued to orbit Earth, its sensors collecting data, but the information they received was carefully managed. Humanity showed just enough to seem technologically developing, while keeping its true capabilities hidden. "We're giving them exactly what they expect to see," explained Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a lead researcher in advanced camouflage technologies. "They believe they're looking at a primitive civilization. They have no idea what we're truly capable of." Satellite networks were upgraded overnight. Communication systems were reinforced. Every military installation began implementing defensive strategies that went far beyond conventional warfare. Underground bunkers, previously seen as relics of Cold War paranoia, now became sophisticated command centers. In space research facilities, prototype spacecraft that had been decades ahead of public knowledge were brought to rapid completion. These were not exploration vehicles. They were weapons platforms designed with one purpose: defense. Artificial intelligence systems, which had been developed in secret, now received their first real-world testing. These were not the simple machine learning algorithms the world knew. These were complex, adaptive systems capable of processing vast amounts of information and making strategic decisions in milliseconds. The global economic system shifted. Resources that were previously allocated to consumer markets now found themselves redirected to research and development. Every industry, from manufacturing to communications, began retooling with remarkable speed. Military training programs underwent radical transformation. Soldiers were no longer just trained to fight. They were being prepared for a conflict that would extend far beyond Earth's atmosphere. General Clark reviewed the latest reports. The preparations were moving faster than anyone had anticipated. Humanity was not just preparing to defend itself. It was preparing to show the Galactic Confederation that they had made a grave mistake. "They warned us to run," he muttered to himself, a slight smile crossing his face. "They have no idea what's coming." The alien vessel continued its silent observation, completely unaware that humanity was not just preparing. They were evolving. The first shots were fired in the cold silence of space. Confederation battlecruisers approached Earth with calculated confidence. Their weapon systems were designed to subdue emerging species, a process they had perfected over countless galactic conquests. Commander Vrel stood on the bridge, watching the blue planet grow larger in the view screen. "Initiate standard pacification protocol," he commanded, his voice betraying a hint of boredom. These missions were always the same: a show of force, a quick submission, another world added to the Confederation's vast network. But something was different this time. The first wave of attack drones launched from the Confederation ships. Thousands of precision-guided weapons streaked toward Earth's orbital defenses. Standard tactics suggested these drones would overwhelm any primitive planetary defense system. They never reached their targets. A wave of electromagnetic disruption swept through the alien fleet. Weapon systems failed. Navigation computers went dark. Communication channels collapsed into static. The attacking drones simply winked out of existence, as if erased by an invisible hand. "Status report," Vrel shouted, his calm demeanor fracturing. The communication officer's hands moved frantically across the console. "All primary systems are offline. Secondary systems err." The officer never finished the sentence. From the blue planet below, something impossible happened. Pinpoint energy weapons, invisible moments before, now traced precise lines through the Confederation fleet. Each beam found its mark with impossible accuracy. Massive battle cruisers, vessels that had conquered entire civilizations, began to break apart. No warning, no build-up, just instant, complete destruction. "Impossible," Vrel whispered, watching his fleet disintegrate. The human counterattack was unlike anything in galactic military records. No wasted motion, no unnecessary complexity, just pure, efficient violence. Smaller human vessels, which had been completely undetected moments before, now emerged from what seemed like nowhere. Their design was unlike any known spacecraft. Angular, almost organic in their movement. They struck with a precision that suggested something beyond simple technological superiority. In less than 12 minutes, half of the Confederation's invasion force was gone. Communication intercepts revealed something even more terrifying. The humans weren't just defending. They were analyzing, learning, adapting. Each alien weapon was studied the moment it was deployed. Defensive systems were updated in real time. The humans weren't just fighting. They were evolving their strategy with each passing second. "Retreat," Vrel finally ordered, his voice a mix of shock and terror. "All vessels, immediate retreat." But retreating proved just as impossible as attacking. Human weapon systems had already locked onto every remaining Confederation vessel. The ships that tried to escape found themselves targeted with a level of predictive accuracy that seemed to border on prescience. One by one, the alien ships died. Back on Earth, military command centers watched the battle with a calm that would have seemed impossible just weeks earlier. No celebration, no excitement, just cold, calculated assessment. "Engagement complete," a young communications officer reported, her voice devoid of emotion. "Total enemy losses, 87%. No human casualties." General Clark reviewed the battle data. Every piece of alien technology was being analyzed, every weapon system reverse-engineered. The Confederation had come to subdue humanity. Instead, they had provided humanity with its first real technological upgrade. As the last alien ship exploded in the darkness of space, a message was prepared. Not a declaration of war, not a threat, just a simple communication. "We warned you to run." The message read, "You should have listened." The Galactic Confederation had made a grave mistake, and humanity was just getting started. The news spread through the Galactic Confederation like a quantum virus. Entire communication networks trembled with the impossible report. A supposedly primitive species had completely destroyed a standard pacification fleet. At the Confederation High Council chambers, chaos erupted. Holographic displays flickered with battle recordings. Counselors from a dozen different species watched in disbelief as human vessels dismantled what was considered an unbeatable military force. The silence was more terrifying than any sound could have been. "This is impossible," declared Counselor Zorn, his tentacle-like appendages trembling. "Our records show no species advancing this quickly. No civilization developed such technology overnight." The chief archivist began pulling historical records, centuries of first contact protocols, thousands of emerging species assessments. Nothing compared to what they were witnessing. Humanity represented a complete anomaly in their galactic understanding. Deeper investigations revealed something even more disturbing. The humans weren't just technologically advanced. They were adapting at a rate that defied all known scientific principles. Research teams began combing through every piece of data about Earth. Previous survey reports were re-examined. Each detail was scrutinized, looking for some missed indicator of humanity's potential. Communication networks buzzed with panic. Member species began requesting emergency defensive preparations. The illusion of Confederation invincibility had been shattered in a single engagement. "We've encountered adaptive species before," explained the chief military strategist, "but never like this. Their technological leap defies all our predictive models." Planetary defense systems across Confederation territories began immediate upgrades. Species that had grown complacent under the Confederation's protection now realized their vulnerability. If humans could destroy a standard pacification fleet so easily, what might they do to less prepared civilizations? The psychological impact was devastating. For centuries, the Confederation had maintained control through the perception of overwhelming technological superiority. Humanity had just proven that perception was an illusion. Emergency sessions were called. Military leaders argued. Diplomatic corps scrambled to understand. Every simulation, every strategic model collapsed under the weight of human unpredictability. Most terrifying was what the humans represented, a completely unknown variable in galactic civilization. Intelligence reports continued to pour in. Humans were not just defending. They were actively studying captured alien technology, integrating it at a speed that seemed impossible. Each piece of Confederation equipment became a lesson, a new technological stepping stone. "They're learning faster than we can adapt," one frustrated researcher noted. "It's like they understand our technology better than we do." Refugee ships from the destroyed fleet brought disturbing accounts. Tales of weapons that seemed to predict enemy movements. Communication systems that could infiltrate and understand alien networks in moments. Defensive capabilities that seemed to border on the supernatural. The Confederation's oldest and most respected leaders began to realize a fundamental truth. Humanity was not just another emerging species to be controlled. They were a potential existential threat. Political fractures began to appear. Some counselors advocated immediate total war. Others suggested diplomatic approaches. A few radical voices even proposed complete withdrawal from the sector. But beneath the panic, a more profound fear took root. Humanity represented something the Confederation had never truly encountered, a species with potential beyond their comprehension. The archivist's final report was chilling in its simplicity. Recommendation: extreme caution. Humanity cannot be categorized, controlled, or predicted. As emergency meetings continued, one question hung in the air, unspoken but understood by every species present. What would humans do next? The Galactic Confederation had made a critical error. They had not just underestimated humanity. They had awakened something far more dangerous than they could imagine. And humanity was just beginning to show what they were truly capable of. Humanity's counteroffensive began with a silence that was more terrifying than any weapon. The first wave of attacks targeted the Confederation's communication infrastructure, not with weapons, but with something far more insidious. Sophisticated cyber systems infiltrated alien networks, turning the Confederation's own communication channels into weapons of destruction. Military bases across multiple star systems went dark. Defense networks collapsed. Entire planetary communication grids simply ceased to function. General Clark watched the operation from Earth's primary command center. Each screen displayed a different stage of the global, now galactic, strategy. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were attacking with a precision that suggested something beyond traditional warfare. Stage 2, he commanded. Prototype spacecraft that had been developed in secret now moved into position. These were not simple combat vessels. They were technological chameleons, capable of adapting to any defensive system within moments of contact. The Confederation's military leaders had always believed in overwhelming force. Humanity demonstrated a different approach, surgical precision that dismantled entire defense networks without unnecessary destruction. Alien technologies captured from the first battle were now turned against their creators. Each piece of equipment became a learning tool, reverse-engineered and improved upon in a matter of hours. What would have taken most civilizations decades happened in days. Psychological warfare became humanity's most potent weapon. Confederation communication channels began broadcasting messages that played on the deepest fears of each member species. Not threats, not traditional propaganda, but perfectly crafted information that exposed the Confederation's hidden weaknesses. Political systems began to fracture from within. Member species that had been loyal for centuries suddenly questioned their allegiance. The unity that had been the Confederation's greatest strength became its most vulnerable point. Research facilities around Earth worked at a pace that defied human understanding. Teams of scientists worked in perfect coordination, breaking down alien technologies and rebuilding them into something entirely new. "It's not about destruction," explained Dr. Rodriguez during a briefing. "It's about understanding. Every piece of alien technology is a puzzle we're solving in real time." The attacks were not random. Each strategic move was calculated with mathematical precision. Humanity targeted the Confederation's weakest points, not just militarily, but culturally, politically, technologically. Alien military installations found their most secure systems compromised. Defensive networks collapsed from within. Communication channels became conduits of confusion and doubt. What made humanity's approach truly terrifying was its efficiency. No wasted motion, no unnecessary violence. Just pure, calculated strategy that seemed to predict the Confederation's moves before they were made. Smaller member species of the Confederation began to withdraw. The illusion of invincibility had been shattered. What was once seen as a protective alliance now looked like a potential death trap. The psychological impact was devastating. The Confederation had built its power on the perception of total control. Humanity demonstrated that control was nothing more than an illusion. Alien military leaders watched in horror as their most advanced systems were turned against them. Weapon platforms designed to subdue emerging species now became useless pieces of technology. "They're not just fighting," one frustrated Confederation strategist noted. "They're evolving faster than we can understand." Each engagement became a lesson. Each battle was an opportunity for humanity to learn, adapt, and improve. The speed of their technological progression was beyond any known scientific understanding. Humanity was rewriting the rules of galactic conflict. As the counteroffensive continued, one thing became clear. The Confederation had not just underestimated humanity. They had awakened a force that would fundamentally change the nature of galactic civilization. And humanity was just getting started. The final transmission was simple, direct, terrifying in its absolute clarity. Holographic displays across the Galactic Confederation flickered to life simultaneously. Every member species watched as a human representative delivered a message that would change galactic history forever. "We warned you to run," the message began. "You chose not to listen." The background of the transmission showed something unprecedented. Not a military command center, not a government facility, just a simple room with a single figure standing before a holographic display of galactic star charts. Confederation leaders recognized the true horror of their situation in that moment. Humanity had not just defeated them. They had completely dismantled the entire galactic power structure with surgical precision. Political systems collapsed. Military networks lay in ruins. The once mighty Confederation was now a collection of scattered, confused species. The human representative continued. You believed us to be a primitive species. You thought we could be controlled, managed, integrated into your system. You were wrong. Each word was calculated, each sentence a weapon more precise than any physical technology. The transmission revealed the true extent of humanity's capabilities. Not just military superiority, not just technological advancement, but a complete understanding of the Confederation's entire systemic structure. Classified communication networks, secret military protocols, hidden political agreements. Humanity had not just defeated the Confederation. They had thoroughly dissected it. We are offering you a choice, the message continued. Complete withdrawal from our sector, total non-interference, or complete elimination. The threat was not emotional, not dramatic, just a simple statement of fact. Confederation leaders understood the subtext. Humanity was not asking. They were informing. The choice was merely a formality. Detailed star charts appeared, showing precisely how humanity would dismantle the Confederation if they chose to resist. Each potential defensive strategy was already countered. Each possible military response was already neutralized. The transmission revealed something even more terrifying. Humanity had been preparing for this moment far longer than anyone had realized. Their technological leap was not sudden. It was a carefully planned evolution. We have studied you, the human representative explained. Every species, every technology, every potential strategy. We are not conquerors. We are something far more dangerous. The implications hung in the air. Humanity was offering the Confederation a chance to exist, not as a controlling force, not as a dominant civilization, but as an equal if they chose to accept the terms. Political systems that had existed for thousands of years began to crumble. Member species that had once felt protected now realized their true vulnerability. The Confederation was not a protective alliance. It was a house of cards that humanity had effortlessly dismantled. You came to warn us to run, the transmission concluded. Now we are warning you. Run or be removed. The message was sent. No dramatic buildup. No unnecessary complexity. Just a clear, direct communication that left no room for misinterpretation. Silence followed. The Galactic Confederation, a civilization that had conquered hundreds of worlds, that had controlled galactic politics for centuries, now waited, waiting to see what humanity would do next. They had underestimated humanity once. They would not make that mistake again. The blue planet continued its orbit, unassuming, peaceful, waiting. Humanity had rewritten the rules of galactic civilization, and they were just beginning.